What's up, YouTube? It's your girl Bianca J, and I'm back with another episode of the Lit for Books. Today we are going into another law from Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power. Today we're talking about Law 34. Oh, I forgot the law. Be royal in your own fashion. Act like a king to be treated like one. Guys, if you love this series, make sure you're comment, liking, and subscribing, and let's get right into this video. So this law 34, was pretty good. It's all about like how we carry ourselves, and this is kind of interesting because I have pretty much had this lesson put upon me since birth. My mom has always been very interested in how like a woman carries herself, how she expects to be treated by the world, how she presents herself to the world, everything. So when I was reading this law, I was just like, okay, this is familiar, but also the way he explains it really goes into like insightfulness of why you should do it and how you should do it. So let's really dig in. So like on the first thing he says, in the long run, the way you carry yourself will often determine how you're treated. Appearing vulgar or common will make people disrespect you, and by acting regal and confident of your powers, you make yourself seem destined to wear a crown. So basically, the more you disrespect yourself, the more you allow people to disrespect you, the more you act very unseemly or common-like, people are going to treat you to the degree that you treat yourself. If, you know what I'm saying, like that's how they're going to treat you. And so if the ladies are watching this, especially apply this to dating, apply this to work, apply this to friendships, apply this everywhere, because ultimately you want respect in every situation, and so you should carry yourself as if you're respected and well respected. And so basically he goes, as he always does, he gives this historical eye on things or how it works, whatever. So he starts off with the story of Louis Philippe, the Duke of Orleans. And so basically in 1830, revolution broke out in Paris, and they picked Louis Philippe. And what happened was he was like super, like he was like, I do not want to be royal. Like I don't like aristocracy. I think it's lame. I don't want to wear a crown. That's corny. A scepter is corny. A throne. I'm rich. I want to present myself like a rich man. So basically he continued to live his life like he did, other than he was like super rich now. He wore a little hat, an umbrella. He hung out with bankers, and he just felt like that was the way to go. For a little while, they thought this was like cool. They liked it. He even started treating people as his equal. So he invited like James Rothschild over at one point, and they just sat there and talked business and talked money, and he treated this man like his equal. And I think on the surface, like even regular people were like, yeah, treat me like a normal person. Like I love those people. But ultimately, no, right? What ends up happening is that the aristocracy could not endure the sight of like this unkingly king. They wanted someone appointed to the throne that was going to represent them in a way that they wanted to be represented. They also found no satisfaction in him acting like not acting like a king and not governing for the people. He was all about his money. They just didn't find him. They didn't find nothing cool about it. So eventually he started being treated not even as an equal, but as an inferior to the same people he was treating as an equal. At one point, the same man he invited over to the palace and talked business with ended up yelling at him publicly because he was late. He was the king. I can be late. So these things really started to take way until eventually more insurrections came out, and he started to like squash them, but he was only squashing them to like defend his fortune and not to act in the way of a king. Eventually they realized they could push this guy around, and he fled the state. Like he fled the country in the middle of the night. No trace. And it was all because he refused to accept his fate and accept his power and the traditions of power. And so even now we're seeing with the royal family today, we had like Meghan Markle and Prince, whatever the hell his name is, come out and was talking about how the traditions and the ideologies of the royal family are really boring, and they have to do this and wear this and act this way to continue to display the royal status, to continue to hold themselves above the people. They have to continue to do those traditions, and it's a part of acting as royalty to maintain your royal status. So keep that in mind. Always keep yourself loftier than those around you, especially if you're supposed to be in a position of leadership. Lead. Don't try to pander to the masses. Do your job. So interpretation here, he says Louis Philippe consciously dissolves the aura that naturally pertains to kings and leaders. Like, we want powerful people to take powerful positions. If you choose to dissolve your position of power, we don't trust you for the job anymore. It's just too uncomfortable, right? It's like a doctor coming in blue jeans and a tank top, and he's like, okay, I'm going to give you surgery, and you're like, no, you're not. Not like that. No, you're not. So basically, what happened was Louis Philippe had profoundly misinterpreted the dynamics of power. Yes, he was onto a new idea of what the world was going to look like, but he wasn't fully there as far as how power was going to be distributed and how we were going to use power to our advantage. So ultimately, the French expected their ruler to be a bit of a showman and to have some presence. When they fired him, they elected Napoleon's grandnephew, and they hoped that he was going to create the same powerful aura that Napoleon had in the past. Totally trying to erase this like awkward bourgeois king that they elected. They wanted to go back to the familiarity of like the Napoleon name and that aura and that striking position. So basically, it says powerful people may be tempted to affect a common man aura, but the people whom this false gesture is intended to impress will quickly see through it. It only appears as if they shared the powerful person's fate. Don't ever pretend to erase your distance from the crowd. If you're above, you're above. You can't, it's like you got first class money, but you're like, I sit in coach because I understand your struggle. Like, why? No. Because if I could sit in first class, I would sit in first class. Are you crazy? So it's like, carry yourself to a high degree. If you have power, maintain your power. People expect you to treat your power with a lot of care. And if you don't, they're going to take it from you. So be mindful of not trying to be the common man. It's not the best way to go forth in creating that powerful aura for yourself. We also have the story of Christopher Columbus, who does this expertly. So Christopher Columbus was and is sometimes thought to be from like Italian aristocracy. They created these great grand stories about how he related to the king of Constantinople and all this stuff, but none of this was true. He was actually just the son of a winemaker and a cheese seller, and he fabricated this whole story about his noble beginnings because he felt that he was meant for great things. And so he acted like he was descended from noble stock in order to get more respect and to eventually get the great things accomplished that he wanted to accomplish. He used his story to marry into like a very established family in Lisbon, and then he used those connections to kind of parlay into grand society and asks for he actually asks for the title of Grand Admiral of this oceanic sea, the office of Viceroy over any lands he found, and 10% of the future commerce with such lands. So basically, he was like, I want to be the emperor of the sea. And so the crazy thing about it was Christopher Columbus had no experience in being the emperor of the sea. Like, he had no qualifications whatsoever. He had never did a ship. He was the son of a merchant. He had no idea. He could make cheese though. But he went in there and he asked for these great things. He went in and asked very confidently for all these great things. And the first king, he pitched to Giles II. He turned him down. It says, even as the king turned down the sailors' demands, he treated them as legitimate. And let's just be honest, his claims were not legitimate. They were absurd. But he treated his claims as legitimate. The reason was because The king was impressed by the boldness of Columbus's request, it says, and clearly felt comfortable in the company of a man who acted so confidently. It says here, by asking for the moon, he had instantly raised his own status, for the king assumed that unless a man who set such a high price on himself were mad, which Columbus did not appear to be, he must somehow be worth it. So the idea here is set yourself high and intend for people to treat you with like a high standard. It said, although Columbus was mediocre at best, he knew how to sell himself. How else to explain how the son of a cheese vendor, a low-level sea merchant, managed to integrate himself with the highest of royal and aristocratic families? By the way, he did get all that money. He got it from Queen Isabella of Spain, and she gave him everything but other than the 10% stuff. What happened was here is it was all about the way he carried himself. He wasn't aggressive, ugly, self-promoting upstart, which we see at these network events. He wasn't like, oh God, you should totally hire me because I'm the best, and I'm the best because this, and I know this person, I know that person, and I rough shit. Don't do that. That's annoying. It's corny. It does not show. Name dropping is the lowest of the low. Like not a way to get power, guys. But it says quiet and calm and self-assured. That is the way to present yourself, okay? Quiet, calm, and self-assured. Look so confident that people are coming up to you to ask you what you do. Why are you so chill? Who are you, right? It said that's the same confidence that's usually shown by nobility themselves. And then it says here, it is within your power to set your own price. I'm gonna say that one more time for the cheap people in the back. It is within your power to set your own price. How you carry yourself reflects what you think of yourself. How you carry yourself reflects what you think of yourself. If you ask for little, shuffle your feet, and lower your head, people will assume this reflects your character. Buoyancy, confidence, and the feeling that you were born to wear a crown is where your power lies. It says here, as we grow older, you know, we have rebuffs and failure we experience set up boundaries and only get firmer with time, and we start to make limitations and self-impose them on ourselves. The solution to such a shrinking of horizons is to deliberately force ourselves in an opposite direction. Downplay the failures and ignore the limitations. Make ourselves demand and expect as much as a child. Call this your strategy to the crown. Demand and expect as much as a child. When a child tells you they're hungry, they don't care. They're hungry and they expect you to make it happen, and that's it. It's nothing. They don't worry about the details. And you need to take that same attitude towards what you want. If we believe we are destined for great things, our belief will radiate outward, just as a crown creates an aura around a king. So the more you believe in your own position of greatness, the more other people around you believe that you are also great and will lift you to those greater heights. So you have to accept it as the truth first, and then you will see everybody else accept it as the truth as well. That's the same thing about the power of the mind, power of manifesting. First you shift your mindset, and then you shift your reality, right? And so first you have to believe that you're worthy, and then other people will see your worth. And if you don't believe you're worthy, then people will never see your worth, and it's nothing we can do about it. All that power relies on you. It is inward, not outward. You have to go in and decide that's who you are and claim it. If we believe, people who wear crowns seem to feel no inner sense of the limits to what they can ask for and what they can accomplish. Use the strategy of the crown, and you will be surprised at how often it bears fruit. Their high expectations are their charm. The higher your expectations are for the things around you and the life you should take on, is more likely to be founded when people are going to be like, oh, she expects to be like treated really well. For instance, I remember this one time I was going on a date. Actually, this guy asked me where I wanted to go, and so I was kind of tiffed with him. So I had picked like the most expensive restaurant. I think maybe like $250 a plate, something crazy. I picked something crazy on purpose. And so instead of saying no, pick something else, he just went with it, which was insane to me. And then we recapped over it some time later, and he was like, I just thought, like, wow, this girl really wants to be rich. And like my expectations made him like me more, even though I was trying to be like mean. It ended up working out to where he had higher respect for me, which was, baby, I can't explain the thoughts and psychology of people, but it works. What else we got here? It says, believe so firmly in your own greatness that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And the trick is simple. This is what they need you to do. Be overcome by your belief of self. Even while you know you are practicing the kind of deception on yourself, act like a queen and you're likely to be treated like a king. You have to act differently, demonstrating your distance from those around you. Always act with dignity no matter the circumstance. So, dignity. He's talking about acting with composure and resilience over your emotions. Do not give way to anger, sadness, defeat, none of that. Always look like you got everything under control is what he's talking about when he starts talking about dignity. Looking as if everything is under control. I don't give a damn what's going on here. I think one of the most beautiful things about being a human being is no matter what's going on here, I can portray something different here and here. So don't worry about what's going on here because no one else is. If you need to portray yourself as confident, use your mouth, use your eyes, use your body language. Don't give way to your thoughts. Don't let them come in. And even myself personally, when I start feeling like I want to lack confidence, I change. I'm like, no, that's not true. How do we know that's true? Who told you that was true? I start challenging my own self-limiting thoughts by asking myself, who said that that was a fact? And if I can't prove that that's a fact, then let's not accept it as a fact and let's try before we start acting like a failure. I don't know who did that message, but maybe you did, maybe you didn't. Let's see. Lacking real dignity and firmness of purpose, Louis Philippe seemed an imposter, and the crown was easily toppled from his head. Arrogance may seem the king's entitlement, but in fact it betrays insecurity as well. It's the very opposite of royal demeanor. Grace under fire. Patience and calm self-assurance is a fascinating action for the king. Never get angry. That's a sign of insecurity to which we should not stoop. Act as if you are already there. Rise to the top or act as if you're already there. Never get angry. We don't stoop. We don't show our insecurity. We don't act noble. We don't act arrogant, blustery, or envious. We just don't. No matter how anyone's treating you, I don't care how bad it's looking, always seem to have it calm, composed, and act under grace. You have all the time in the world, and you need to make people think that. It says here, the Italians used to heckle this one guy with vulgar abuse, but he maintained his dignified pose as if completely unaffected. It says here, dignity, in fact, is invariably the mask to assume under difficult circumstances. It is as if nothing can affect you. You have all the time in the world to respond. Once you put a sucker on the defensive, he is doomed. Suckers would beg to be, it says always seem aloof and calm, and then suckers will beg to be like near you because they want to know how you're doing it, right? They're going to be like, how you do this? How you do that? That's just, don't even take them seriously, but always appear very dignified. Other here it says the strategy to take on. It says make a bold demand, set your price high, do not waver, go after the highest person in the building, choose a great opponent, and you create and accept appearance of greatness. And lastly, give your patron a gift. You are essentially saying that you two are equals. So rather than begging for a opportunity or begging for a chance or begging for a promotion, instead try gifts to show that we're on equal footing. It says the gift strategy is subtle and brilliant because you do not beg. You ask for help in a dignified way. That implies equality between two people, one of whom just happens to have more money. And then finally it says, remember, it's to set your own price. You are worth the king's ransom. Respect yourself for your confidence. Respect will eventually pay off in ways you cannot imagine. And then the last thing it says before they really end the chapter, well, I guess it's not the last thing, but don't wait for a coronation. Don't wait for someone to say that you're worthy. Go ahead and crown yourself. Go ahead and crown yourself. Don't wait for validation. Don't wait for anything like that. Don't wait for anyone else to say you're great. Don't wait to get published. Don't wait to get monetized. Just claim it. And if you claim it, then it's yours. Everyone should be royal after his own fashion. Never make the mistake of thinking that you elevate yourself by humiliating people, though. So be kind and gracious all the time. You are radiating confidence, not arrogance or disdain. Power through affecting a kind of earthly vulgarity, which will prove amusing by its extremeness. There will always be people more vulgar than you, and you will easily be replaced the following season by someone younger and worse. So don't try to go vulgar. Don't try to make a spectacle. Instead, always try to be kind, thoughtful, and royal in your demeanor. Quiet, calm, and self-assured, and not trying too hard to be of the crowd. So you can be in the crowd, but make sure that you do something to stand apart and consistently keep your distance from the crowd and show yourself as a very powerful individual. Never tip your hand on your emotions. Never show people that you're angry, and always carry yourself with a certain level of respect. Act as if you are the most important, most beautiful, most smart person in the room, and treat everyone like they are family to you, but also that, meaning that you're going to give them respect and kindness, but also distance them enough to let them know that you guys are not the same, and that you don't share like a very familiar circle, so that you will never get disrespected. Because let's be honest, if anybody disrespects anybody more, it's probably family, right? It's like, you don't want anybody getting so close as to thinking they're your friend or your family member, because once people feel like they have that level of acquaintance with you, then they typically start to like test your boundaries. So keep your distance, but keep a very royal status about yourself. Set your price high, do not waver, and keep your head up and stay royal. I'll catch y'all next time. That was Law 34. If you like it, make sure you comment, like, subscribe. Tell me what law you want me to cover next, and I'll be back in a few days, let alone a week, and letting you know more tea about the royalty and other laws from 48 Laws of Power. I'll see y'all next time. Make sure you check out www.litforbooks.com to get free literary resources, as well as to support me in my book sales. I sell children's books, hoping to keep this channel ad and commercial free. So thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you soon. Have a good day.